Hello to my massive audience out here. We're gonna keep this so informal because we can, because there's a whopping 2, 4, 6, 7 of you. Love it. So you're all gonna get to participate. So we are talking about human oversight. Has anybody been to any of the other presentations today? Yeah, okay. So there's a lot that was already discussed, and I kind of want to bring that back into the conversation because honestly, these are really important topics. But really what we're talking about is why we can't let AI run the show, right? We always need human oversight in everything that we do. My name's Amy Gurske. I'm CEO and founder of a deep tech company called Say Hi. We are a human sciences company that utilizes AI to optimize our processes and backend, but the entire purpose of the platform is to listen to humans and reconnect them to humans' skills and resources in your time of need. So our product actually follows the journey of every single individual and then realigns you to a human, to skills, and to a conversation to have to better understand how you can optimize your performance in life, at home, wherever you go. Okay, sound good? All right, so, see, I don't even know how to click, so just push it down. There we go. All right, so you guys can all read this, right? I'm gonna go, because I can literally touch on every single one of you. What is the first thought that comes into your mind when you hear the word AI?
Doom and gloom.
Doom and gloom. ChatGPT. Information, what was the second word? Information flow, like it. Generated data, love it. Gemini, ChatGPT, yep, totally get it. Numbers. Scenarios. Black box. Fair enough. Okay, so there's this concept of AI out there, right? It's new, it's so popular. Kidding, it's not. AI has been around actually for quite some time, but really what exponentiated it was the one thing we all know, which is ChatGPT, right? We think of artificial intelligence, we think of something that can write papers for us, something that can generate speeches, something that can generate really whatever. Now we can do images, right? How cool. I can look like I'm 20 and super fit and like on a beach. I'm not. I'm in Troy, New York, I'm in a blazer, and I'm 42. So we're not gonna generate that image, but I could, right? So AI has this context of what we hear in the media, right? If you've been in any of the other presentations, we hear a lot about what is being fed to us when we're on social media, what is being fed to us in the news. Why we automatically think of operating systems like ChatGPT, Llama, Gemini, any of those, is because it's what we hear the most about, right? But machine learning has been around for a very long time. Algorithms have been around a very long time. The purpose of those is actually to think like a human, right? That's what this definition is getting at. It's using computers to help us reduce some of those repetitive tasks by learning a process, learning about data, and then predicting that forward, right? So if you think about ChatGPT, what was the original data set for ChatGPT? Does anyone know? Reddit. Right. What is Reddit? A cesspool, right, of a bunch of opinions, right? Okay, so what fed this large language model was all of these opinions, this cesspool of opinions, right, is feeding this model. So if you use ChatGPT in its original form and you asked it a question, you're essentially getting a predictive model, right? All ChatGPT does is predict the next word. It predicts the next word by looking at how people typed out responses in Reddit, and it gives you that next word, which forms a sentence, which forms a paragraph, right? It is literally just a model that is not just automatically thinking about the best response. No, it's pulling from a database of responses and how words work together and how it can build that framework. So if you ever tested one of the newest models when they first released it, it was freaking terrible. There were sentences that were missing words. There's still bad facts. There's now a pop-up with ChatGPT that says, please, has anyone seen this? That says, fact check. It is your job to fact check the information we are providing. Has anyone seen this? It literally started in the last week, where if you open ChatGPT, it'll tell you fact check, right? Because you can't just trust the model, right? It's not always right. And we think that we're saving time, we're saving all of this, we still need the human oversight to actually produce something. And I'm sure if any of you guys that are students, your teacher will say, feel free to use it for research, don't let it write your paper. Everybody just wants it to write the paper because we're like, that's good enough, I'm gonna submit it. All we're doing is shortchanging our learning. You want to do that? Great. You're going to graduate college and still not be able to think on your own. You're going to struggle in the workforce. So you may as well start struggling in college or in high school or in elementary school by doing the hard work, right? Do the validation, do the research. Then you can use AI to do some fact checking. You can use ChatGPT to ask questions, to be curious. But essentially, AI is just a system that is a predictive model of a line of words that stream together, okay? We're trying to teach computers how to act like us. So the lineage of technology, this is very exciting. I'm kidding. It's not, but it kind of is. So all the way back down to 1440, oh, this is an old version, but that's fine. So the printing press, right? What was the purpose of the printing press?
Bibles.
What?
Bibles.
To print Bibles, yep, that's one. What about the telegraph? Anybody? I'm going to run through these, so don't even worry about it. But the point is, we are at a point in time where we're all talking about ChatGPT. We're all talking about artificial intelligence. Well, guess what? Back in 1440, they were talking about the printing press. In 1837, they were talking about the telegraph, right? There is always new technology, and there will be technology past AI as well. So as much as we want to get all fancy with it and be like, this is so cool, we're doing such cool things, AI is going to change everything, did the printing press? Maybe. Did the telegraph? Maybe. Technology continues to build on itself. So we're in a point in time, very fun, very exciting, but just like all of these other technologies, they had limitations, they had benefits, and they also have consequences, right? So the printing press. The main point was mass information dissemination, whether it's Bibles, whether it's newspapers, whether it's a book. It's something that you want to try to get into print to be able to give to other people, because there is no way that I could have a conversation with every single person in my village to let them know that we're going to have a hoedown on Saturday and bring your best cow Betsy. I mean, maybe you can if you're going to go knock on all the doors, but we needed to print paper to be able to get this mass information out there, right? Fostering connection, sharing knowledge. That was the point of the printing press. Not much different. Telephones and internet, global connectivity, right? We got the internet. Who lived before the internet existed? Yeah, some of you better freaking raise your hands. I know all you young ones, keep them down. But so we went from a world where, and some of these people may be familiar with this, but in my house, we had one telephone, right? It was in the kitchen. It was rotary dial. I know you guys probably see like TikToks of people being like, oh, how do you dial this? We'll show you after. There will be a live demo. Anyway, rotary phones. The way that worked was I had two older sisters, right? And this is like the phone on the kitchen wall. And this is a glass slider to outside. The way that we found privacy was by answering the phone. You're like, oh, hold on, Becky. I have to step outside really quick because my sister's listening. And you like squeeze with the 4-foot cord out of the glass door and you shut it. And then your sister walks on the porch and she's listening anyway. And then we got a second rotary dial on the 3rd floor. She would just pick up the phone and I'm like, get off the phone. Yeah, there was no privacy, right? But we used the telephone to create global connectivity with the internet, right? We created digital communities. I was just speaking with someone about chat rooms, right? They exist now. They've existed forever, right? Yahoo had chat rooms. And it's like, where can I go to connect with like-minded people to learn about knitting or crocheting or how to milk the cow Betsy that I brought like 30 or 300 years ago to the fall festive thing, whatever. It was, we created these communities around like-minded people to do what? Create connection, to find a sense of belonging. We answered the phone when our friends called because we wanted to chat with them to feel that sense of belonging, right? And then with the internet, it also brought about workplace efficiency. I should never admit this, but I do. But I worked for a company for 17 years prior to getting poached by Amazon and launching a startup for them and then eventually leaving that and doing what I'm doing now. But we had the first e-commerce site that was a B2B, business-to-business e-commerce site. This was a game changer. We now had people in remote communities able to buy products from us without picking up the phone and calling, and we would ship them that product the next day. Yes, that was actually a thing before Prime, and make sure that they had what they needed when they needed it. So we were creating efficiencies in the workplace. But guess what? We couldn't get maintenance guys to stop going to Lowe's or Home Depot or Ace because they had popcorn, and then they meet with Jerry, the guy who cuts the keys, and they needed to catch up with Gary, right? They like that sense of connection that they created with in-person relationships. So as we continue to progress technology, what we see is it gets more advanced, but we have to work harder to get that human connection. So now we have smartphones, social media, right? This is constant connection. Anybody who knows me, and I am like the antichrist of all technology, so it's very odd that I am like a tech founder. If it is normal for you to text me and me not to respond for 8 to 10 hours. Sometimes it's not even to the next day. I make a very conscious effort to not check social all the time. I make a very conscious effort to not be on my phone all the time. I haven't checked text messages all day. Why? Because I am present in a conference and I am learning from every single person who has been speaking and every single interaction I'm having in the hallway. I can't do that if I have my cell phone in my hand and it's dinging and I'm like, well, I gotta check it, it's my mom, or I gotta check it, it's this person, or my dog just texts me. I wish my dog could. I would totally check my text if my dog could text me. But again, it's fostering those global communities, right? You have Facebook on your phone. You can now go check this group that you're a part of for, bocce ball on Saturdays or kickball league on Tuesdays. But it's also instant access to information. What happens when you receive bad news? How do you feel? Like if you got a phone call today and you were told that you got an F on a test, how would you feel? Correct. Like shit, maybe. Would you feel like shit? Okay, yeah. I don't know, maybe that's good for you, we don't know. But this access to information, it can be good, it can be bad, right? You post a social media post, right? And you're like, posing on vacation, you're like, oh, I got like 400 likes, that's amazing. And then you post a picture of like driving to work and you're like, back at the grind, and you get 30 likes. You're immediately depressed because you didn't get as many likes as before. There was a previous talk that I hope everybody heard, and if you didn't, hear it now. But social media and access to information is all about external referral. I am what you think of me, I am how many likes I get, I am, how much money I make, I am my job title. I hate to tell you, if that is what you're gonna keep searching for throughout your life, you will continue to feel a massive void that will never be filled. You can't get enough likes, you can't get enough praise. It's all about internal referral of who am I, what do I represent, and what light am I shining on this world. The people that want to see that light will find it. The ones who don't will go their separate way, and we respect our differences, right? But with this instant access to information, it's also hitting on our dopamine receptors, right? So now kids that are constantly on social media are getting this dopamine response that when they don't have their technology, they go into a similar withdrawal to fentanyl. It literally, your brain acts the same exact way. The difference is they're gonna pick their phone up again faster than someone can run out and get fentanyl. So technology is just as crazy, and the side effect of technology, which was shared in a previous talk, is it's not just addictive, it is addictive, right? And doing drugs, right, can kill you. Drinking too much alcohol can kill you. I'm in recovery, so if anyone wants to talk about it, you let me know. But technology is just as addictive, and it is causing a lot of harm. Why? Because it is making us insane. You are trying to control stuff that you cannot control, and it is an endless cycle or a hamster wheel that you can't get off once you get started unless you make a conscious effort to do it, which is why if you message me on social media, I will likely never message you back. But I don't mean any harm by it, I just don't check it. But it also changed the landscapes of social interaction. So, Kim Kardashian posts a picture. Who knows who Kim Kardashian is? I know, right, it's a thing. So she posts a picture. We have some naysayers, maybe we have some people who like her. I really am indifferent. She's a person who does what she does. I don't know, that's my opinion on that. But I can go on, and from the comfort of my bed, sitting in my onesie, eating ice cream, I can be like, she looks fat in that outfit. Like, who's gonna throw stones at me, right? Like, I don't exist. I can create a fake profile. It doesn't matter, but we've changed the landscape of social interaction from spending and connecting time with people in the halls, being present during presentations, to interacting digitally. How many people have a friend on social media that they have never met? I do. I mean, on LinkedIn, there's plenty of people that I have actually never met in person that I've connected with digitally, right? So we've changed the landscape of social interaction. And I always message my new LinkedIn contacts and say, hey, I like to personally connect with every single person on LinkedIn, because if I do have a student asking me for, a connection, I want to be able to say, I know this person, I can reach out. Do you have 15 minutes for a virtual coffee, right? Thank God to the previous invention of being able to, use social media or our iPhones and smartphones and actually connect digitally, see their face, see who they are, have a great conversation. But it's changed the way that we currently interact. I've totally been referencing your presentation, by the way, it's so good. So, and then video conferencing, right? So we've all been through COVID. I assume no one was born in the last 5 years. I could be completely wrong there, but yes, we all went through COVID. Hugely damaging. How many of you, and do not raise your hands because it is it's a thing and I don't want anyone to feel any shame over this at all, but when we went into social lockdown, how many people didn't hate it at first? I was like, heck yeah, I'm gonna repaint my bedroom, I'm gonna redo this, I'm gonna do that. Like, I liked having the world slow down, right? But what it did was put us more into this digital space where now our networks are expanding. We're looking for something to constantly fill our time because we don't really play board games anymore. Not everybody wants to paint their bedroom 8,000 times like me. You can also wallpaper, it's an option. But we also leaned heavily into, in the workforce and for fun, video conferencing. Funny story about that. So my family, none of us live in the same house. I have two older sisters. One is a surgeon, one is a teacher, and my mother is 80. We played a game called Jackbox. Has anyone ever played Jackbox or heard of it? Okay, super fun. Love Jackbox. So we would all get on Zoom, right? Because all of us had Zoom accounts. We'd get on Zoom and we would play Jackbox. The one person that could not get on Zoom, guess who it was? Fibs. The 80-year-old was on it like that. She played virtual bridge. It was a whole thing. The surgeon. Why? Because everything she does, she is an orthopedic surgeon. Every single thing she does is in person. She doesn't do video conferencing. She can't. She needs to physically see the patient, physically see what's going on with their foot, their ankle, whatever it may be. So I have a picture of my orthopedic surgeon's sister being like, and I'm like, it's ironic that she can literally do an entire ankle replacement. She's one of 5 in the world that can do it, but she couldn't figure out voice over IP. I'm like, I am baffled, but I was also partially happy for her. So again, this remote communication, collaboration, it did. We could work through COVID, we could all connect, we could schedule meetings, we could play games, virtual happy hours were great for like all of a week until everyone's like, I'm totally done with this, like don't bug me on my off time. But it also brought together virtual communities. So I'm a part of many organizations, volunteer organizations, where I get to see people virtually every single Sunday that I may or may not ever meet in my life, but we have a similar purpose, we do similar volunteer activities, and now, because of video conferencing, I can connect with them all, right? Benefits, consequences. Then you have the videos where people are sitting in their underwear, like all the funny videos, they're like, you know, business from the top down, they get up and they're in their underwear. That was real, we all did it. Any woman was wearing sweatpants or leggings, and any man was in their boxers or shorts, let's be honest. And if you threw on a blazer, you were winning. I still have an extra blazer. Oh, 100%. Like, I'm in a onesie and you don't even know it. Like, totally, 100%. I'll be in it soon. But, so some of the benefits, right? We don't want to downplay the benefits of technology. That's why we keep advancing in technology, right? We are creating better communication, information dissemination, right? If you want to go ask ChatGPT, what are some innovative ideas? Throw out 6 menus if I'm having my friend who's a vegan over, right? It can help you be curious. It can help create community. It creates efficiency, right? Online ordering. Who has ever ordered from Amazon? Right? Because you don't have to run to the store. What do we hear about? All of these stores closing because no one is going to malls anymore. Everyone's ordering everything online because it ships directly to your door and you can do it from the comfort of your couch in your onesie and or boxers and or pajama pants. And also accessibility, right? So think about some of the tools out there right now where you can literally, like there's a company based out of Rochester, New York, which is where I live. Actually, I think they're out of Syracuse now, but Sign to Text. It will literally read sign language and type it out on a screen so that the deaf community can actually communicate with other people in real time. How cool is that, right? Accessibility, pretty fantastic. No one's sitting back there behind TV shows typing out the text anymore for closed captioning. And if you're old enough, you would remember the times when like the closed captioning was totally wrong and spelled wrong and you're like, I don't even understand what that means. I feel bad for the deaf community because I can't read that. So accessibility. Now, what are some of the drawbacks? And I'm gonna get into these in a little bit more detail, but I also don't wanna focus too much on the negative, but it's definitely something that we need to be aware of. So, is anybody aware that we just went through an election? Anybody? Anybody? Oh my God, I know it's new news. It might be fake news, I don't know. And that's the problem, right? We have misinformation, we have censorship happening. We don't even know that it's happening, so what are we supposed to trust and what don't we trust? Do we trust Google? Do we trust Meta? Do we trust Instagram? What are we trusting, right? The environmental impact. So I was just talking to a coworker, one of our companies is the largest holder of Bitcoin, right? I really naively thought that Bitcoin was literally virtual like money just floating around until I realized that it's actually pulling on a ton of environmental resources, right, to be able to make this happen. What about privacy concerns? Anybody? Anybody worried about this? Okay, another weird story. I got invited to go to this resort called, I'm gonna say it wrong again, Nemacolin, something like that. It's this luxury resort south of Pittsburgh for a friend's 40th birthday. We were talking about it in the office. I have my old Amazon Echoes in the office to play music through. And I go home that night, I turn my TV on, and I immediately get a commercial for Nemacolin, whatever it's called. I can't afford to go to this place. This isn't a place that I would just regularly visit. They would never target me. Why did they target me? Because my Echo heard it and informs it up through the cloud, right? Because data doesn't just stop someplace, and all of a sudden you're getting targeted ads. Weird, creepy. Happens every single day. Your phones are listening to you, Echoes are listening to you, everybody is listening to you. Also, the social disconnect. Do any of you guys, like I'm proud of all you guys, especially the students for being here today, right? It's much easier to sit in your dorms, not come out, not interact with people, right? What does gaming and social media do? Are you interacting more with your friends or less with your friends? And I'm not even a gamer, so it's like not a good example. Like I said, I still like have the Atari. You never win Pong, you just know you're gonna fail.
The biggest statement about you have friends online you've never met. Some of my best friends I've known for like 20 years, I met through gaming.
There you go, right? So you can form these cool, great global communities around like-minded interests, but then you also have people that maybe you follow on social media that you're like, I wanna be just like that person. How do you know how that person feels? All you're seeing is what they're posting, which could very well be a fabricated background to an image, could be a touched up image, right? It creates this need to look a certain way, to put this perception into the world that you're this certain type of person, right? So much pressure. But it can create that social disconnect. Have any of you guys gone out with your families recently to dinner or any of your friends and everybody is on their phone? You're literally sitting at a table and every single person is on their phone. And I will look at my family and be like, I don't even know why I'm here. I have an 80-year-old on her phone and I have an 8-year-old on his phone. Like, this is like, what is actually happening? My mom's like, I'm just finishing a Facebook post. She's 80. What are you Facebook posting? Like, what are you Facebook posting? We're right here. So there's this disconnect, right? We can just pull up our phone and ignore everything else. What do you think I did when I was traveling for 22 years on airports, right? I'd be on I'm like, oh, I'm on something. Like the earbuds, like trying not to talk to people, right? And it used to be a book. You'd be like, oh, I'm just in the middle of a good chapter. And then we're just on our phones. It's a really good way to ignore people. Put your ear pods in, walk down the street on your phone. You might get hit by a car, but don't worry, no one's gonna talk to you until the paramedics get there. And like I said, privacy erosion, the mental health impact, right? There was a previous speaker who I was like enamored with his presentation. He's totally gonna send it to me. Snail mail, you just send it in the mail. But I'm just kidding. But mental health impact. So when we see these images, and I face this myself all the time, and this was, I'm gonna say it's a bunch of years ago, because I've really had to work on just not comparing my insides to somebody else's outsides, right? So as I'm scrolling through social media and I see, like I'm a tech founder. For the last 3.5 years, I launched a company, and I'm not gonna lie, like I am frugal with my money because I knew that I was going to have to go a duration without getting paid, right? I'm not going on vacations. I'm not buying new cars. I'm not getting new clothes. And I go on social media and I'm seeing all of my friends doing these trips. The immediate feeling I have is I'm not good enough, right? It actually has nothing to do with me. I am comparing my insides to somebody else's outsides. And somebody else's outsides are always gonna win because now AI can just generate us a beach, right? I'm sure I could make my look of, I could be on a beach right now, like 8,000 sizes smaller. Not that I would wanna be, to be completely honest, but I could. And then the over-reliance. I've heard throughout the talks, journaling in the morning, right? I've heard throughout the talks, doing the research, finding the papers, using LMN models to do research, right? Validate this, quantify this, challenge this, not write me a paper on Shakespeare's whatever. Like, challenge yourself. We need independent thought, and by doing independent thought and working down that path versus using it as a cheat, and we've all done it. Every single person in this room has used ChatGPT at some time to get a quick answer to something. If not, I will be the only one standing here, and I am totally fine with that because I know there is at least one other person in this universe. But we have this over-reliance on tech, this over-reliance to access information whenever we need it, right? We know that we can get it. So let's talk about AI. So I believe in AI for good, right? Like I said, I launched Say Hi. I do not use a large language model to funnel in my questions. I do not use a large language model to build out my skills or any of the content that I put in our monthly activations. How we do use AI is on the back end for data processing. We have a networking algorithm that will actually connect you to a human who can hear you. We have algorithms that will help connect you to skills and resources, but it's always about reconnecting humans to resources, skills, and people. It is not about letting a large language model dictate what information should be disseminated to some people. Because with that, and I'll get into it, it can create, these models inherently have bias, which we'll talk about. But the good side of AI is balancing work, right? How can we reduce repetitive tasks and enhance focus? My expense management system, I love it. I can scan a receipt, it populates everything, and I am done, right? It's in my QuickBooks, I'm good to go. I don't have to enter everything, I don't have to write it down on a piece of paper. Repetitive tasks, that's what we want to use AI for. Why? So that we can balance our work better. Supporting self, fostering wellness and personal growth. There's tons of apps out there that you can use that help you either lose weight, gain weight, get through a workout cycle, like any of these things, but we can use it to support self. You can actually ask ChatGPT for what should I do today to feel happier. It'll give you ideas, maybe try a few. But I wouldn't rely on ChatGPT to make me happy. I can go get input, and then I still have to do it, right? Still human. And it can also foster communities. So all those recommended people that you see on LinkedIn that maybe you should connect with, maybe you should. My recommendation is not do what I do, but it is a good practice to say, hey, I'd love to connect for a 15-minute virtual or in-person coffee. You down with it? Surprisingly enough, most people will say yes. If they don't, I'm not going to connect with them because then again, I have no context for who they are. And the whole point of LinkedIn is to network with people. And if I never actually meet you, then how are we actually networked, right? So automating routine tasks, freeing things up, right? So a great example of this is in healthcare with chatbots. Also in workplaces. So if you're registering for benefits, there is a chatbot. You can say like, I don't understand the difference between these plans. It will clearly lay that out. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here. It'll give you a funny response, but it does work. So we've got chatbots. Virtual assistants, I still don't trust. Personal scheduling, absolutely, right? I love scheduling assistants. Calendly makes it really easy for people to go on and pick your own schedule. You can do things in a much faster way. Email management. This has already been happening for a while. Machine learning algorithms have been in the back of our email systems all the time. How do you think spam gets to spam and then your friend's like, did you get my email? And you're like, oh my God, let me check my junk file, right? It's just machine learning, shooting it to your spam. But the majority of the ones in your spam are spam. You don't want to see them. It saves you time. Data analysis, right? Like I said, we use plenty of data analysis tools on the back end to generate and process data in a very efficient manner. Love it. Healthcare diagnostics. AI has been around forever in healthcare, especially radiology, right? It can detect anomalies within an image and pinpoint it and bring it to the human eye that maybe we would miss. Great. If we can save lives, let's use it. Makes sense. And then safety and security. There's a really cool company out of Syracuse right now that I saw at the Genius New York finals, and they're using drone technology, and they have an infrared camera that also tracks cell phone coverage and a bunch of other things, but they're using it to find people lost in avalanches, in floods, in hurricanes, in tornadoes. They can fly a drone over and identify where people are to actually get them out of a natural disaster. How cool is that, right? We're saving lives. It can keep us safe. They can also find, like if a prison, someone decides to like break out of prison, they can go find an inmate. Fantastic. I'm still waiting for when they can find lost dogs, but they didn't respond, so whatever. Expanding creativity, right? It can help generate ideas. I can go into ChatGPT and say, give me 15 ideas, fun things to do this Saturday. And it'll generate a list of things. Half of them may stink, but half of them might be valid, right? Support complex problem solving. Again, I don't even really need to read these. I just want to make sure we're probably already running out of time. But the whole point is to assist in human blind spots and add to, not take from, right? We are a whole human. These models can add to and make our lives easier. They're not supposed to take away from us being human. It's also to enhance work-life balance. This is very important if you allow it to. So if you use ChatGPT, and I'm not saying this is right, to write a paper for you, that's going to save you, what, 16 hours? The downside is most people then take those 16 hours and go straight to social media, where they're then going to make themselves insane, right? Trying to compare themselves to everything that doesn't actually exist in this world. And instead, we focus on self-care. Get outside and go for a walk, right? Call somebody that you love that you haven't heard from in a while. Research community activities and involvement. There's tons of stuff going around the holidays. Like, let's figure out what's going on in Troy, New York, and go do something fun. And also, knowledge about yourselves. A previous speaker talked to the importance of journaling. Like, what is your purpose? What are you holding yourself accountable to? And are you achieving that, right? Love that. So let's talk about AI bias and fairness. Okay, so all AI models can and honestly do inherit bias. Why? Because we are feeding it the data. I mentioned ChatGPT was based off of Reddit, right? Ton of opinions. We don't know if they're right or wrong, but that's what's feeding the model. So all of these models have bias. How are we eliminating that bias? How do we know what data is feeding the models that we're using and whether or not we should trust it? This was an interesting one, and this actually happened when I was at Amazon. 2018, Amazon had to discontinue the use of a hiring algorithm because it showed a deficit of hiring towards women. We didn't know why. We were trying to adjust the algorithm, but 80% of candidates were male. Had nothing to do with race. It was a gender thing, and we could not figure it out, so we had to immediately stop the use of that algorithm. They still won't go back to algorithmic hiring. They typically will do career fairs, which again, we're going to get to this, but we're getting to the point now where people are turning back to traditional methods because new technology is no longer serving them. We're actually going back in a renaissance period. This generation coming up right now are interested in growing plants. Our generation didn't. Like, give me a plastic plant any day of the week. I don't have to water it. I can't kill it. Great. But this new generation is going into, I want to sustain and grow my own food, right? I want to save my planet. I want to learn how to sew. Like, I want to do creative things. We're actually coming full circle. Someone mentioned, I was on a call yesterday, actually driving here, and someone said, did you know that that Highlight magazine for kids still exists? I ordered it and my kids love it. Everybody loves getting paper mail. We don't check our mail because it's typically bills and spam things and, you know, landscape agreements that we don't want. So, or in college, I don't know what they're sending you, pizza coupons? I don't know if they even do that. But we're actually coming back to a point where people enjoy old school things, or for some of us elder folk, the things we grew up with, right? Pretty fantastic. So human governance, we are all accountable. I am accountable as a CEO for the transparency of where my data is stored, how it is securely kept. I am accountable to that, right? There are no legal regulations going in to hold people accountable, and I'm gonna walk through some of these examples. We also need to make sure that things are fair. Like I said, I will not use large language models in Say Hi until I'm confident that the model is not biased, which again is gonna be near impossible, and fair towards everyone. And then we have to set guidelines. So internally at Say Hi, we have guidelines of when you can and cannot use AI, how we use it internally, and also how we're generating documents, how we're representing the company. We have guidelines there because humans must remain in control. So, deepfake creation. Is anyone familiar with this video? Okay, great. So, essentially, fake videos like this one, Mark Zuckerberg, who put out a video which was fake, and it was a fictitious speech about controlling users' personal data, right? Everyone freaked out. They're like, oh my God, Facebook has like everything I know, I am, these personal connections, the affair I'm having on my guinea pig with the neighbor's rat, like everything is in Facebook, like everybody knows everything, and now they're saying that they're gonna use my personal data. It was a deep fake creation. It was mentioned in a previous speaker's talk, which is so important to mention. We are worried about, like, we used to be worried about nuclear bombs, right? In war and someone coming here and bombing us, or, 9/11 happened. The war right now is happening in the cloud. The war right now is happening in data security and governance. There was things that came out through the election, a previous speaker touched on, which was someone ripping a ballot apart, right? And essentially saying, like, I'm gonna take this, I ripped it up, voting is rigged, and it came from outside this country. People are no longer wanting to bomb us. They are getting to us through emotional turmoil and distress by creating fake news. And yes, I just did this, but I don't want to do that. So anyway, we have to be aware. So how do we even prevent ourselves from falling in these cracks, right? It's up to humans to actually figure out what is real and what is not real, which is very scary. My recommendation, and this is not for everybody, it is for me, is I watch my social media time, right? I am very rarely on social media. If I go on, it's for a point in time to do one thing, and then I'm out. I used to say this on Facebook originally, but I'm like, if you're not my friend on Facebook, then we're not connected anyway. So if I am not talking to you on a regular basis, I have friends that I can go years without talking to, pick up the phone, it was like yesterday, right? Make that human connection instead of relying so heavily on social media. And that's actually where the world is coming back to anyway, so enjoy. This one really scared me. Again, a previous speaker talked about it. Did anybody hear of the example where the 14-year-old boy ended up taking his life because he fell in love with a Game of Thrones AI character? I know one person did, 2 people. This is really sad. Essentially, he fell in love with a fake system, a person that was a Game of Thrones character. He was actually sexually or intimately connected with said computer person, which again, I just do not want to see any of those messages. To be completely honest, I don't want to ever get near that. Okay, he ended up taking his life. His family is now suing the company that created this. Some of these chatbots, again, we don't know. If there is a breach in security, what if your chatbot that you've created this great relationship with tells you to jump off a bridge? Tells you to shoot yourself in the head. Has anybody ever watched Black Mirror? Like, it literally plays ahead things that could happen, and some of them will really freak you out and it stresses you out, but those are the realities of some of the things that we're facing if we let technology get out of control, which is why humans need to take ownership of it. So, we're trusting AI guidance. Let's talk about TikTok. Is anybody on the TikTok? Thank God. Okay, we got one. No judgment. I think I'm on TikTok. I don't even know because I don't open it. But there is a study that was proven that the US, and this actually happened to me, I downloaded TikTok, I logged into it, and I immediately started getting videos where people were resisting arrest and like fighting with the cops and saying like, I don't have to give you my ID, and they're like filming and like all this bad stuff's happening. I'm like, oh my God, like I was like distraught. I actually mentor women that are incarcerated to look forward, not back. I don't really want to see people fighting our system right now. And honestly, it's creating a lot of chaos. What's odd is that the algorithms used in China are feeding kids educational materials, while the TikToks in the US are not feeding them educational materials, instead feeding people other material, like people fighting and being aggressive towards military and the police. That was eye-opening to me. Once I read that research, I was like, no more TikTok for me. But it is very scary because that data set is held in China, right? We're essentially giving them all of our information. And I get the influencers, this is how I make money, blah, 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 blah. You're also giving them all of this information. You are giving them access to like your underwear drawer. Like you may as well just drop them right now. So please be aware of these. Again, where's your data being stored? Who is looking at this data and who is managing it? Cybersecurity threats. Who has either gotten called by the IRS or gotten one of these saying like, you need to update, oh, your UPS package is on the way. Click this link to update your address. Hey, we need a credit card information. Oh, this is your bank. We literally have, I can call you, and I was at a cybersecurity, or an FBI cybersecurity thing 2 weeks ago, and he literally called my phone from his phone and sounded like my mother. And she was like, now, my mom's 80, and he was like, I'm gonna need you to Venmo me $80. I was like, this is a fib. My mom has no clue what Venmo is, and that is true. She'd be like, let me write you a personal check for this, or I'll get you cash, right? She's 80, she's not Venmoing me. Oh, Oh, we got a couple young ones, yay. Anyway, they did exist. But we're getting spammed, right? And guess what? A lot of them are not coming from the United States. We have to be aware of the things that are happening. And we all get them, right? We're getting phone calls. The freakiest ones are the voice augmented systems that can call you from any phone number, which has actually been around for decades. I used to be able to spam your brother-in-law and, call him from his own phone. We used to do that. But now the fact that you can sound like somebody else and actually ask for something, if you have any doubt in your mind that that is actually not that person, hang up the phone and call them back. Safest way. So we have to be aware. Manipulative marketing scams, again, the voice cloning, the ransom call scams, targeting. So Cambridge Analytica use of AI to analyze personal data from Facebook allowed them to create highly targeted, emotionally manipulative political ads. Such practices exploit people's fears, bias, interest, often leading to harmful societal division. Does anybody feel like we are living in a divided society right now? Yeah, right? So, I know, duh, what are you talking about? Literally, this election is tearing this country apart, right? And we can either choose to realize we are more alike than different, or we can continue to read and listen to the news. And honestly, what I did, I have not watched the news. My coworker Jen will tell you, I used to have the news on, I used to have stuff on in the office. Now I have Finding Nemo for our fish sushi, or the Wildlife Planet. But I am not reading the news, I am not going on social media, right? I am living my life, I am showing up and being present where I am, because that's what's gonna bring me joy. The minute I watch the news, I'm gonna get that hit of a dopamine, probably get angry, and then be very frustrated. And guess what? It's not gonna come out at the person who caused it, CNN, Fox News, whatever. It's gonna come out at you guys. I'm gonna be walking down, I'm in a trip, and it's somehow gonna be your fault, right? Because stress comes out sideways. And it typically never affects the person that you're mad at, it affects the people that are around you in that moment. So watch that as well. So the future, enhanced community, engagement, purpose-driven innovation, promoting wellness. The students in this room have the power to do that. The older adults in this room, it's our job to make sure that our younger generations know what is happening, know what we are doing to change that, and promote them to do the same, right? So I am so glad, like I said, to see some younger students here today. It's so cool to see you guys get out, being willing to participate and learn. There's a lot of students sitting in their dorm rooms right now, and guess what? They're missing out on community. So let's continue to use AI in an ethical way. The last one people always ask me about is, can AI replace humans? There's two sides of this, yes. What do you bring to the table? What do each and every one of you bring to the table that is different from what AI can do? Challenge yourself with that in your journal this week, right? If you are going for analytics, AI can do analytics. What do you bring to the table that is vastly different than what AI or ChatGPT can do, right? And no, what wouldn't you allow AI to do for you? Those are those last human jobs, right? I don't want AI as a therapist. I don't want AI as a coach. I want Z, who I can call in Hawaii and be like, Z, my life's a total mess, I need you to help me. And she's like, God, that sounds terrible, girl, let's talk, right? ChatGPT would be like, have you considered going and taking a long bath? Like, I don't have time for that, ChatGPT. I also don't want to get emotionally connected to a chatbot and end up killing myself. Not a healthy way to go. So challenge yourself with, what is it that you are doing? Like prompt engineering 6 months ago is the career to go into, the field to go into. Guess what? Prompt engineering is going to be replaced by AI, right? We're already moving past these things. So challenge yourself to see, what are you doing that is so different, and how are you selling yourself against AI? Because it's no longer against each other, it's against these automated processes. What questions do you guys have? Yeah.
I have one. So you talked about AI replacing repetitive tasks,
Mm-hmm.
and that being a good thing. I wonder, like, I feel like we gain so much experience from doing repetitive tasks. So do you have any thoughts on what kind of repetitive tasks or when they should be used?
Yes, so so the question was, is there a benefit to doing repetitive tasks to learn how to do it before just allowing AI to do them for us? The answer is absolutely yes. I actually get very mad when I speak at universities or adjunct at universities and I hear professors saying, use ChatGPT to do research, just don't use it to write your paper. How about you actually go to Google, you go to the research library, you pull up, studies of what's actually going on, and you read through that. I believe there is a learning process in everything that every single human needs to do. If you're doing social media posts and content creation, you're only using ChatGPT, you are not even challenging your mind. So I do believe that learning the hard way, so when I went to Clarkson, which I know is like a curse of RPI, hockey rivals, shocker, I wasn't on the men's hockey team. I was one of their trainers, but we weren't allowed to use calculators in any of our math or sciences courses. We had to do all of it by hand, which was painful. There was one class we could bring a statistical, like a TI 83. You guys probably have like something super fancy now. That was fancy. And we would like write equations on like the back end pencil and then like try to erase them. That was our version of cheating. Yeah. So, and you had like a paper test right in front of you. So we actually we couldn't even use calculators. And at first I was pissed. But then I realized throughout, my career how many times I've actually relied on needing to do mathematics in my head or like on the fly. If I just constantly relied on a calculator, bad, right? I hear my nephew doing math practice tests in his house and he's like, Alexa, what's 6 minus 4? And I'm like, unplug, unplug, unplug. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? He's like, well, I know the answer. And I'm like, repetition, repetition. Why are you asking it such a simple question? It will take you less time to actually figure out the problem in your head. So yes, I agree with learning to do the tasks. My generation was just forced to do them anyway, so now we're like, oh, that's nice. Multiplication, if anybody didn't see those fancy charts, it's a whole thing. Oh, yeah, nines? Do you guys know the finger trick for nines? Oh, such a good one, so good. All right, what else? I love it. Well, thank you guys so much for having me. You can click on that, that'll bring you to our company. You can reach out to me, you can find me on LinkedIn. I will ask for a virtual coffee, so watch out if I didn't already meet you. And again, I hope you guys have a great rest of your night.